Hi, my name's Adam. I work in the sale office at Kingston. In this presentation, I'm just going to show you some of the opportunities for you to study or work abroad as part of your degree at Kingston. Okay, so in the first slide, let's just look at some of the reasons why students might want to study abroad in the first place. The first, and probably the most obvious reason, is employability. So I suspect that for most students, one of the main reasons that you come to university in the first place is to improve your employability prospects when you graduate. As you can see here, at the moment only about 8% of UK students currently study or work abroad as part of their degree. So you can already see that having something like this on your CV is a really good way of setting yourself apart from other students who are competing for the same jobs as you when you finish university. Employers love to see these kind of activities on your CV as well, because they know that when students study abroad, you mature, you develop really valuable life and social skills, and all of these things are really beneficial to you in the workplace. And also, one of the things that lots of our previous study abroad students mentioned to us is that it actually seems to make the job interview process a lot easier when you have something like this on your CV. And what students have mentioned to us in the past is that quite often the interviewers on the other side of the panel seem so interested in the year abroad once they spot it on the CV that it often tends to take up a lot of the interview time. So a lot of the interview questions tend to be focused on something that the student can speak really confidently and passionately about, and it's just a topic that they really enjoy talking about anyway. So it just helps to make the job interview feel a little bit less painful. Okay, so the next point is culture. So the most important thing to point out here is when you actually live in another country for an extended period of time, it's a completely different experience than going on holiday there, for example. So you're going to be really immersed in the local culture. This includes the people, the food, the music, the climate. So you really get to know a country a lot better when you live there as opposed to just going there as a tourist. And then the other side of this is the academic culture. So different countries around the world have slightly different approaches to their teaching and learning. And this can be really beneficial to you in terms of picking up some of these different ways of approaching things so that you can apply this when you come back to Kingston. And what we find is that almost all of our students who study abroad achieve better grades in their final year than they were before they left. Okay, so the next point is self-confidence. This one is actually huge. This is one of the main things that students mention as a benefit when they come back from studying abroad, and it's perhaps something that lots of people don't anticipate just how much they're going to change while they're away. This is actually one of the most satisfying things for us to see as well, because it's really evident in a lot of cases just how much people have grown while they've been away. And the reason for this is because when you really push yourself to get out of your comfort zone with an activity like this, when you get used to a new environment, when you meet lots of new people, and when you broaden your horizons through travel, it really has a huge impact on people's self-confidence. One of the other things that our returning students mention to us when they come back is the diverse group of friends that you make from all around the world. It's important to point out that you won't only be making friends from the country that you're visiting, because when you arrive, there'll be international students from all around the world who are in exactly the same situation as you. So what tends to happen at that point is that everybody sticks together and everybody helps each other to settle in. So you'll probably find that the first group of friends that you'll make will be international students from elsewhere in the world. One of the big benefits of this is if you wanted to go travelling after you graduate, our study abroad students tend to have a really close group of friends to visit and stay with based all around the world. Okay, so the next point is travel. This one seems almost too obvious to even include on the slide, but what this is really getting at is when you're not in lectures and classes, you're going to have ample opportunity to travel around and see some of the best of what the country has to offer. Even in countries where you'll need a study visa to live there, you're usually able to remain for at least 30 days at the end of the academic year. So this means you get a really good chance to make the most of your time there, even when your studies are finished. So in terms of learning a new language, some students who really want to boost their language skills might decide to study at a university where they'll have the opportunity to learn in the local language. But it's important to point out here that most of our partners offer classes that are taught entirely in English, so you really needn't worry about the language barrier if you did want to visit a country where the native language isn't English. So in terms of who can study abroad, as you can see here, all undergraduate students, except those from the Faculty of Health and Social Care, can apply to our office. For those students from the Faculty of Health and Social Care, this doesn't actually mean that you won't have the opportunity to study abroad. It just means that those opportunities are arranged through your own faculty rather than our office. So you haven't been left out entirely. It's just that the regulations for your course are slightly different, so your faculty look after those applications. So let's have a look at how it actually works. So the reason it's called a study exchange is because in theory, Kingston are supposed to receive one student from the partner university for every student that we send there. You won't actually need to worry about this process at all, but what it does mean for you is that you never have to pay tuition fees at the partner university. And when you consider that in some of the countries that we can send students, the tuition fees are absolutely astronomical. So it's a really good deal for you in terms of the tuition and the facilities that you'll have access to on the campus without actually having to pay the tuition fees that a student would usually be expected to pay there. So one of the main questions that we get asked is, how much will my year abroad cost? As I just mentioned, you don't pay any tuition fees to the host university, and another great benefit is that if you spend the full year away from Kingston, you also receive about an 85% reduction in your Kingston tuition fees as well. So some of the expenses that you will need to bear in mind are mostly the same as those that you'd need to consider anyway if you remained at Kingston. These include accommodation, food, travel insurance if that's required in the country that you visit. All study abroad students from Kingston are automatically covered by Kingston's insurance policy free of charge. It's just that some of our partners require you to take out their own policy if the requirements don't meet those of their own. You'd need to pay for your own travel to and from the UK, but as we'll see in a later slide, there are some bursary options for some students that contribute towards the cost of these. And the final two things to think about is obviously local transport in the area that you're visiting and entertainment and leisure activities that you might like to take part in while you're there. And in terms of funding, if you receive a student loan from Student Finance England, not only will you receive the same amount of maintenance loan that you usually would have done to live off of at Kingston anyway, but if you spend the full year abroad, remember that tuition fee payment will also be greatly reduced because of that tuition fee reduction that we spoke about earlier. So in terms of the other funding options available for study abroad students, as you may have heard, unfortunately UK universities are no longer able to take part in the Erasmus scheme due to Brexit. However, fortunately, the UK government has created its own funding programme called the Turing Scheme. It's designed to provide similar levels of funding as the Erasmus scheme, but with one big benefit that is not limited only to students who are studying abroad in European destinations. At the moment, we're in the very early days of the scheme, so we don't know exactly how much funding Kingston might receive, and we're not sure exactly which students will or won't be eligible for the programme, but potentially all students could benefit with some funding under the Turing Scheme, no matter where you studied or completed your work placement. Obviously, as soon as we receive more information, we'll be able to forward this on to everybody. But two other funding options that are already in place at Kingston and we already have all the information on are the Study Abroad Bursary and the International Travel Bursary. So once you've submitted all of the forms that we need you to fill in, and once you arrive at your destination, the one-off bursary of £300 will arrive in your bank from Kingston. Kingston also offer the International Travel Bursary. This is available to all students whose family income is below £25,000, and it will reimburse you for your travel expenses to and from your destination, as well as any visa costs that you might have incurred. So another question that you're bound to be wondering is, where can you go? So we have over 300 partner universities in over 100 different destinations all around the world. There's an approved list of partner universities for each course at Kingston. Those are available on our My Kingston page, and that's set by your faculty. The reason why there's a different list for each course is just so that your faculty can be completely happy that there'll be appropriate modules for your course on the campus that you're visiting. So when you apply to us, you can select any of the destinations that are approved by your faculty for your course, and you can find the destination list for each course on our My Kingston page that you can see at the bottom here. Okay, so in terms of when you can actually go, there are two options really. So the first option, which is only available on certain courses at Kingston, is where you replace your second year overseas and replace the modules that you would have studied at Kingston at the partner university. The main reason that this is only available on certain courses is just because for your faculty to be happy for you to replace your second year modules overseas, they need to be really confident that you're going to be able to find appropriate modules and that the facilities on your campus are going to be up to scratch for your course. Our applications are always open throughout January every year, so if you did want to take up this option, and if it's available to you on your course, you'd need to submit your application to us in January of year one. So the other option, and this is the one that's available to all courses at Kingston, is where you sandwich an additional year after year 2, study abroad in that third year, and then come back and complete your degree in what would then be year 4 at Kingston. As you won't be going anywhere until your third year, you won't need to submit your application to us until January of year 2. So that just means that you have a lot more time to think about everything before you need to apply. So the main difference between these two options is that obviously with the first one, you're actually replacing your Kingston second year modules at the partner university. So it's really important that you pick appropriate modules so that you're not missing anything or falling behind in any of the essential subjects or missing any of the preparations for your final year at Kingston. But with the second option that we can see on this slide, as you can see here, it's an additional year that you're spending abroad. So although you'd still need to complete 120 credits to pass the year, there aren't actually any Kingston modules for you to replace. So on the next slide, we'll just look at what this actually means and how it makes the sandwich year a little bit more flexible and stress-free in comparison to replacing your second year. Okay, so the benefits of sandwiching that additional year onto your degree are that you still obviously get your full 3 years of study at Kingston, with that additional year abroad sandwiched in between years 2 and your final year, what would then be year 4. And as I mentioned before, because it's an additional year and there are no Kingston modules to replace, nothing can prevent you from progressing into your final year when you come back, and you can't fall behind in any of the essential subjects because you're not actually missing anything while you're away. So you will still need to complete 120 credits over the year in order for the year abroad to appear on your final transcript as a pass. But we're aware that while you're away and getting used to some of these other factors that I mentioned before, like the new environment and the new ways of teaching and learning, it's obviously possible that your grades might suffer slightly while you're getting used to those extra things. And this is one of the benefits of that additional sandwich year, is that even if your grades were to suffer while you're away, this won't impact on your final degree classification and also won't affect your preparation into the modules that you'll be studying in your final year. And again, this also offers you a lot more flexibility in the modules that you can study while you're away. As you don't need to find like-for-like replacements for your Year 2 modules, you can essentially select any classes from the entire course catalogue at your partner university, as long as your faculty are happy to approve these. You'd also be able to complete a work placement as part of the year if you wanted to as well. So, for example, you could study abroad at one of our partner universities in semester 1, and then complete a work placement in semester 2, or the reverse of that if that worked better for you. Or if you wanted to, you could spend a full year abroad working rather than studying at one of our partners if you prefer. And obviously the other benefit is that you get that additional year of experience bolted onto your degree without having to worry that it's going to make your degree really expensive in terms of tuition fees because of that 85% reduction that's applied to your fees for your year abroad. Okay, so if you'd like to find more information, you can find us on My Kingston on the address here. We'll also be holding faculty talks in around October and November, and we have an event called the Study Abroad Fair, which is usually in December, and there we call back students who have been abroad in the year before so that they can give you advice on their own experiences, and you can just pick up lots of information on all of our partner universities to help you make the decision on where you might like to go. And again, here you can find our contact details, our notice board email address, and our My Kingston page again, where we have loads of useful information for you, including where you can go, the destination list for each course, visa advice, the funding options, everything's all on there, so it's a really good place to check out. And that's it, so thanks for listening, and as I said, if you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us, that's what we're here for. And as part of this session, we'll be holding a live chat as well, so I'm sure you'll have the opportunity to ask me any questions that you might have. So hopefully we'll speak to you soon.